You, Josh. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Catfish Weekly, along with Josh and Lyle, Chad. Evening, fellas.
What up, buddy?
You know, I am just dealing with all the flipping cold that Lyle continues to send us, Josh.
I know.
Sick and tired of it.
You know what I am impressed with is it does appear that now he's going to be keeping the lion's share of that snow.
I hope he gets every bit of it.
He deserves every bit of it.
I do not. James Dockery's the one that wants to ice fish and do all that crap. He's the one that deserves it, no one else.
He likes ice. He doesn't like snow. It goes over his head too quickly.
Well, it does. And I sent you guys a picture the other day of him and I, and you can tell who's the shortest. I'm not going to say it was.
He said you were standing on the curb. So
yeah, it was not. He's lying.
It was obvious, Lyle.
There was no curb.
It was so obvious.
No curb. No
but
curb.
Hey,
he's just a little guy. But you know what? No, he's not fishing as much as he was last year. Well, he's been sick too, like everybody else.
It does seem to be a lot of stuff going around.
Yeah,
a lot of
going around. John come down with it today. So,
well, like Josh said earlier before we went live, with the weather the way it is, one day it's 70, the next day it's below zero.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't take long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we say hi to some folks here right quick? Because we have a pretty cool show tonight, I think.
We do have an awesome guest tonight. I think we're going to have a real good show this evening.
All right. You got it, Josh, or you want me to get it?
Yeah, let me get back up here to the tops. Starting out, I see Dead Sea Pirates Fishing. We've got Matt from Wannabe Outdoors, Mike Sampson, hello, Sampy. Catfish Fever and Outdoors, 922 Crappie Barbecue. There is Mr. Downtown Ernie Brown. There is my favorite Fields, Miss D Fields, member for 45 months. There is Burrito Catfishing Lady. Let's see. There's Randy Swain, Bureau Boys Outdoors, Jason Lamb, my wife Christina Dunnigan. There is Pontoon Jody Catfishing.
That was hot.
See here. There's Schmieder of the Cedars. Catch Fish with Us. There is V Smith, Northern View Outdoors. There's Ray Smith, member 45 months. Thank you, Ray. Danny Stone Outdoors, member 37 months. Cat Connor Bust. We got Brian B. Catfishing, also a channel member. Wabash Nate. Let's see. There's Bob from Bobcat Outdoors. Good to see you in here, Bob. Fishing with Tito.
Bob had a new video out the other day.
Let's see, Rowdy Royal. There's Jerry Hager, 419 Fishing and Powder Coating. There's Hooked on Cats with Captain Terry Rogers. What up, buddy?
Evening all.
There's BOR Fishing.
Good to see Mark in here.
We're not going to say hi to him. Dave Funk.
Mark with Bill Rice Fishing.
Oh, I thought you meant Mark from Catfishing.
I haven't seen him yet.
Okay. That's why I was like, no, we're not going to. There is Cindy Stokes. Hello, Cindy. 205 Wild Action. There's from Parker Pursuits. There's Sangamon Angler. Let's see. Two Stands Fishing. Let's see here.
And I love you, Bob Kitty. Calm down.
Trying to catch up here.
I don't know who you have.
There's Benoit Fishing Outdoors. Hello, Gabby and Allison. Roger from Muskrat Adventures. Ed Jenkins. Tom from LG Bass, also a channel member. Thank you, Tom. And let's see. Greg Burgess. Chat's flying tonight.
It is.
And
We're building up for the big reveal here.
There's
who we got.
Jersey and Buck Williams. And I think that gets me down to the bottom. If I missed anybody, holler out and we get you. There's Kevin Baker and Nuts and Bolts Fishing. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, buddy. So, guys, last CatCon, I was walking around and there's this huge display. I mean, it's like almost like a rock ledge, like a underwater, just beautiful scene, right? And there's catfish and there's crappie and bass and bluegill and crawdads. And I'm like, oh my flipping God, this thing is beautiful. How do I sneak it out of here? But then everybody kept looking at me as I was trying to pull it out of the arena, so I had to leave it. So I started wondering, I'm like, who is the creator of this? And I'm walking around some more and I see this cool looking red, white, and blue cat that has River's Edge Reproductions on it as well. And the guy behind the booth just happened to be none other than the man himself. And I'm like, oh, this is a guy we need to get on the show. So I started harassing this guy, like, I don't know how long ago. And he was like, dude, will you please leave me alone? He kept making up all kinds of stories. Like he was doing his hair one weekend. He went on his trip. He's like, I would Monday, but look, I'm going to like Peru or something. He's like, I'm an award-winning guy. I got these things going on, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, finally, I gave up. And then last week, I hate to do this, but I want to give him credit. Jerry Parker put in chat that, hey, we should have this guy on the show. I said, that's a great idea. You should help make that happen. 5 minutes later, I get a message like, hey, I just wanted to follow up. I think this is a great time for us to do a show. And I'm like, Jerry Parker messaged you, didn't he? So we owe the great honor of having this guest to Jerry Parker of Parker Pursuits.
You'll never hear the end.
We'll never hear the end of that, but
never ever. But
hey, tell Jerry thanks on this one. So
yep,
definitely got to give him thanks because I tell you what, we're gonna bring him up here. But River's Edge Reproductions, Mr. Josh Roth does some flipping fantastic work, and he is a true artist when it comes to this stuff. So, Josh, welcome to Catfish Weekly. We appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad our schedules finally aligned. I don't have pretty hair. Never have had to.
Hey, I don't have hair, so
never had to bow out and use getting my hair done as an excuse. I did legit go to Peru back in March. Yeah, it was March. Did a 3-day fishing trip while I was there. That was pretty rad.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Mondays. Oh, Mondays are tough. My kids play floor hockey on Mondays and Tuesdays right now. So I'm usually there all the time, but they play on Tuesday tomorrow. So this week, the stars aligned, and I'm glad that they did. So I'm excited to be here and talk about what's been going on and what we got cooking and what we're gonna have this weekend. I lose track of days. I've been all over the place here lately. I'm low on sleep.
I have decided I have one more day of work, and then I'm taking the rest of the week off. So
well, I've been on a leave from my day job, and I've been doing nothing but painting fish lately. And since we actually have a president now, I decided to take President's Day off.
There you go.
No,
I can respect that.
I say that, and we've been working on this new trailer I bought, getting everything installed, all the rails and crap, so I can secure all this stuff I'm bringing down to Louisville in a couple days. So, but yeah,
as I say, he sent me this picture of an empty trailer with like brackets and stuff, and I'm like, was that supposed to be in the middle of the floor or?
No, they're hanging now.
Good. Well, at least you're making progress. You made more progress probably today than I have. So
I got to move the spare. I had it mounted higher, but I want to put it down to where it's on the ground, and I got some excess rails I'm going to mount up there so I can hang some baskets and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's all come together. So,
good.
Working my way through my checklist for the day.
So, if you've ever had, I mean, there's definitely people out here that's watching tonight that have caught some fish that are just, kind of like a catch of a lifetime. I see Danny Stone comes to mind because I've already seen him in chat. He had And I know one of your fish that we were talking about before, the piebald type catfish, and he has
Mhm.
one of the coolest piebalds I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen more in the last couple years than I've ever seen in my life, but his is by far the coolest one. It had a question mark
I was going to
on the
say he
head.
had the question mark one. So
It was really cool. You know, and you want to remember that sometimes, pictures are nice, but pictures do get lost
Mhm.
at times. But this is something that I think is so cool when you find people that do this and do such a good job. And I'm going to share some of the pictures that I found
Yeah.
on your Facebook. But we'll get into your background and all that as well. I'd love to hear your story, but obviously the people are want to know too, like the details. How do you do all of this? And I'm sure you have plenty that you can share with us. But let's bring some of these pictures up real quick. So Lyle said something about James Dockery and his love for ice fishing, so I knew that this one had to be on here. But check out this bluegill.
a huge bluegill.
11.5-inch long bluegill. The guy that caught that was like 6'6", and it just looked like a regular bluegill, like a 8 or 9-inch whenever he was holding it. But that thing took up the whole bottom of a bucket. I saw it.
Holy
wow.
cow.
Yeah. Like his reference pictures, he had a picture of it in the bucket, and it was like the whole bottom of the bucket.
But I thought this was cool because you can see the little ice crystals on the fish. You get the
Yeah.
ladle and stuff. It's a full mount. It's not just the bluegill. This is laying on ice. There's a hole with a ladle and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
And there's
That's
a Mondo
wild.
muskie under the ice, too.
Oh, my dog is barking in the other room. I apologize if you can hear that. Check out.
I like that one.
I think you can go on, and I'll grab it here in a minute. The Rivers Edge Reproduction Facebook page. Make sure you guys go over and give that a check out and go through all the pictures and stuff that he's got on here. It's really cool stuff.
I'll be honest with you guys. For the last probably 8 to 10 months, I haven't been posting much. It's been for good reason. I've been trying to kind of control my growth here lately just because I've had a day job and doing this as a side hobby turned into a second job with my kid stuff. But I can probably tell you in the next couple months, you're going to see a huge uptick in stuff being uploaded on there, stuff that I've been sitting on for a while, and a lot more stuff that's coming through the pipeline here.
Well,
so.
We're not here to hold you down. We're here to build you up.
Oh,
so
yeah, well,
I expect you to get at least 10 more Facebook followers from us.
Oh, I'm sure that'll happen, and I'm sure there'll be quite a few more after this weekend.
Just to get Lyle, because Lyle is now the biggest bass fisherman in the catfish community. I definitely had to get a couple of these in here. This bass here, and then this is one of the cool.
That's a cool. I like that mount.
Yeah, that smallmouth's awesome.
Yeah, so Josh Jones and one of his buddies were catching those big 8-pound smallmouth up in Idaho, and they were feeding on kokanee salmon. So he goes, "Could you make them chasing a little kokanee?" Like, yeah, sure, no problem. Found some reference pictures online, and we did a little kokanee on there.
Well, I've seen like these, and then there's one I didn't grab, and it's a gar, and you can tell it's from a bow fishing where it's going through the water. It's got a platform, and the arrow is going through, and the gar is underneath it. It's it's pretty cool.
That'll be a CatCon.
That will be a CatCon.
Yep.
All right.
That'll be a CatCon.
This is one of the piebald mounts he was talking about. And then which ones I haven't? Let's see. Let's check it. That tells you how awesome of the detail work. Can I zoom in on this?
Yeah, that was Tim Smith's blue cat.
Yeah, there you go.
That one had some scrapes.
Let me.
I forget what lake he caught that one on, but yeah, that one had like some dark black marks back on the lateral line back there.
And we'll go to the flathead. Who caught this one?
My daughter caught that one back in 2018, 2019, 2020. I don't know. Whenever my daughter caught that, she was about as tall as that fish was long. That fish was 37 inches long and only weighed it was about 22 pounds. I'll be honest, it gave me an excuse to do a flathead. Like, it wasn't a monster, but I was really wanting to do one. And I was like, oh, yes, We got a picture of her on the fridge, laying on the ground next to that fish.
Well, that picture makes it look like it's 50.
Yeah.
You know.
Chad, it looks like it'll let you zoom in on that one. Can you get that?
Oh,
that
there we go.
on there.
And we caught that fish, or she caught that fish, whenever the shad were spawning down at Lake of the Ozarks. So the condo that my in-laws used to have, I fished that thing all the time. And usually in mid-May, the shad would start to spawn, and they'd be up on the rocks, around, I don't know, right before dusk. And then they'd be up on the rocks all night. And then the catfish and the bass would have them freaking penned. You couldn't keep rods in the water. It was awesome. So
That's
she
cool.
caught that fish on cut shad. So I made a cut bait to match, what she caught it on. And I put a neodymium magnet actually in that cut bait and buried it with like the guts and the epoxy. And then I put another one in the mouth of that fish and buried it with putty. So that
you
bait
can see
actually sticks
right there
in there. And then I didn't even realize it until I was using reference pictures of her fish for a different flathead. And I noticed it had a pitchfork whisker on it. So whenever I decided to do Lily's fish, I incorporated that pitchfork whisker
right
on
there. Yeah, as I said, it took me a minute
Yep.
what you was talking about, Josh. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to see, and because like I said, this is me copying the picture over into Canva and stuff because I couldn't get it to just download the pictures for some reason. But you can see the bait inside the mouth here and the details that I'm pretty sure you've had this one somewhere else, haven't you?
I took that to the World Taxidermy Championships, and it got a blue ribbon. I've made a couple of those cut baits. I made a cut bait like that for Brian for Dragon Master. That was on that big display that you saw.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian goes, I want one of them cut baits. I want one of them cut baits with one of my my circle hooks on it. So it's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's cool as can be. And then you've got that big boy.
The Bugs Island World Record, baby.
I mean, look at that detail. Oh.
Yeah, whenever I talked to Mark at Bluff City Outdoors, he wanted the world record, he wanted the Missouri state record, and the Illinois state record because he's right there on the Mississippi River on the Illinois side. And, we actually used the exact same blank for all three fish because their dimensions were within an inch of each other, both length and girth. But, we put all the scarring and markings and stuff
I was saying,
on them.
yeah, look at the
Match
detail
pictures.
that he puts into his work.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, on that fish, that blank is garbage. Like if you look on the underneath side of the head on that fish, like all those skin folds and stuff, I had to hand carve and put all that detail back in there because that fiberglass blank was completely smooth and through that area. So I built up that gill flap area to give it a little bit of definition and then put all that muscle detail back in the bottom.
That's awesome work, man. It's so cool to see this stuff. And again, this is just a sampling. This is like 9 pictures that I grabbed, before the show. He's got a lot more on there, a lot more coming, he said, right? So please, I know Josh already dropped the link. Go over and check them out on Facebook because you never know, when that state record, 100-pound fish, monster bluegill, monster crappie, whatever it is that you catch that you may want a reproduction of, right? And I would hope you would keep Josh. He is right here in the U.S. He's down here. Don't hold him against him. He's in Missouri because Lyle and Dockery are both from Missouri. So
you got to give him a break. He's
got to give him a break.
Jerry Parker. Anybody who's friends with Jerry Parker automatically gets a free pass from me. So
that's true. So, but yeah, you never ever know when you might want to do that. So how much do those things weigh after done?
That world record one from Bugs was a fiberglass one. That one was fairly light. I'd say that was probably like 20, 25 pounds.
Wow.
I've got a 76 pound or a 70-ish pound blue in here right now. It's an all plastic one. It's a little bit heavier. It just depends on the manufacturer. Yeah, I'd say that one's probably like 30-ish. But yeah, it just depends on the makeup of them. Because like the black tip shark that I'm gonna have at CatCon, it's 48 inches long. It's fiberglass. That thing has no weight to it. I'm gonna have my barracuda there, which was 3 foot long, and it weighs probably 2 to 3 times as much as what the black tip because it's plastic or it's made out of composite
wow.
resin.
Well, I got two questions on
Yeah.
that. So one, so for somebody that doesn't fish anymore, Jody actually brings up a really good point because our friend Brian B. Catfishing, he don't fish anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but he eats a lot of filet fish.
That's
If he
Lyle eats a lot of those too. So I mean,
can
that
you
might
make
be good for
yeah,
Lyle.
can you make some filet fish for these
Oh,
guys because
he's
they don't
already
fish
on it.
anymore?
I got a crappie fillet here. Will that work?
That's awesome.
This is actually for Dieter Melhorn for that PB blue he just caught not too long ago because he caught it on a crappie fillet or a crappie skin. I sent him some teasers of that a few weeks ago.
Oh,
and
that's
he's like,
wild.
Nice.
dude, that's perfect.
If was guessing or betting, and I'll bet on anything if the odds are correct, Dieter Melhorn probably caught that on chicken.
He said that one was actually a crappie fillet about the size of his thumb.
Well, of course it was. Fish don't eat chicken.
I think there's some guys in Jerry's neck of the woods that fight you over that statement.
No, I don't
I
care
ain't
if
no
they
kidding.
would. They probably wouldn't go very far.
I've never caught one on chicken. I've tried it a few times. I finally
I've
broke
tried.
down and gave into the hype about a year ago, and
I've caught a few, but only when we've been drifting over mussel beds. So
Only dinks.
the only place that they've ever and none of them have been very big. So
I'll never admit to it, even if I did, until I see fish or chicken swimming around in the water I'm fishing.
yeah.
I was gonna, kind of go into your backstory here a little bit, like what got you into it. But I already see that the chat's throwing questions out.
Yeah.
But
oh, that's fine. We can get
this
into
is
it a little
this
bit.
is legitimate, right? So
Yeah.
what exactly is needed for you to be able to create a good replica, right? This right here, I have several pictures and the weight, but no measurement. Is it possible to estimate the size based off pics and get a
Mhm.
replica?
Yeah. Pictures are the best. I've done fish where we didn't have anything, no measurements, no pictures. Well, we did have measurements, but we didn't have pictures. We've had, we could do about anything. So if a guy has a weight on a fish, like they weighed it, but they didn't take any length or girth or anything on there, and they have pictures of it, what I would do is I would check with some of my different vendors to see, okay, if it was a 50-pound blue cat, right? I would check my suppliers to see, the 50-pound blue cat blanks that are out there and available. And then I would get with my customer and look at his pictures and say, okay, does this one here have about the same profile or like silhouette of the fish? Does that match yours? And if it does, cool, we roll with that. We'd see whatever the length would be on it and then, their price per length. So we would just, roll with whatever that is. I've had that happen several times before. I did a 15-inch red ear sunfish for a guy. They caught it. We didn't have any pictures on it. I forget what the weight was. They had a length and they had a weight, but they didn't have any photos of the actual fish. And the actual fish, his buddies were drunk and they filleted it while he was taking a shower. And because I think it could have been a Kentucky State record, honestly. But once they ran a knife through it, they couldn't do anything.
Oh.
But yeah, he wanted to get him out on it, and I did that one like 3 or so years ago. He's actually a really good buddy of mine and good customer. I got a couple walleye on the bench right now for him and his wife, actually. But I did another red ear sunfish for something else, and I said, hey, Dave, do you like the colors on this? Because it was one of those things where this other red ear was going to be for an amount where I didn't have to. I could do whatever I wanted with it. And I told Dave, I was like, look, I'll paint this red ear. Come by, look at it. If it needs to have more of this or more of that, we could tweak it however we need to make your fish right. And he saw that one. He freaking loved it. And he goes, just paint that 15-inch like the one you just did. Okay. And he loved it. So
That's awesome.
But yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff. I mean, I've had situations like that. I've had some where guy may have had it in the freezer for a long time with the intention to do a skin mount, and then it, freezer burnt and they threw it away, but they still had pictures and measurements on it. We ordered a composite blank and airbrushed it and paint it, and it'll last forever. It's not like a skin mount where the head's going to shrink, the fins are going to get brittle and come apart and all that. These things, they're either fiberglass or they're plastic, and I use water-based airbrush paint that guys use custom paint motorcycles and goalie mask, which we can get into how I got into this, but that's how I got into doing this. And then I spray an automotive 2-part clear coat on them, so that stuff's made to be outside all the time.
Mhm.
So you hang this fish in your man cave or your cabin or wherever. It's, your grandkids' kids could have it and it'll look the exact same. You just have to dust it.
Yeah, as I was saying, because I've seen mounts that were a lot older, right? That
Mm-hmm.
people in my family and stuff have had, and yeah, they tend to be, well, to fade and all kinds of other stuff. So that's pretty cool that you're doing some more modernized, like clear coating and stuff to kind of save that paint that's underneath it.
Oh yeah. Is Danny? Are you coming to CatCon? Come by and see me. I'll have my piebald on display there. It's really pretty. Now I'm not just saying it's because it's my fish. They're pretty.
It amazes me seriously the piebalds that we have seen the last like 2-3 years in this community. This has been like I've never seen one
I
Mhm.
tell you,
before, and I've seen tons of them in the last 2 or 3 years.
that piebald, I took that to my first ever competition this year. They had nationals in Columbia, Missouri. Nationals was actually closer than our state show, and I'd never competed. And I thought it was one of those things where it's going to be who can put the best paint job on one.
Mhm.
Boy, I got some humble pie served to me ice cold. I didn't realize how much studying anatomy and everything went to. Yeah, awesome. Come by and see me, Danny. We'll talk. I didn't realize how much anatomy went into it because I bought, I wouldn't say a lower quality blank, but I bought a blank from one of my vendors. And I could have put a little more attention to detail in the actual anatomy aspect of it. Paint job was killer on it. It turned out stunning. And when one of the cool things about when you go to these competitions is they'll go over your score sheet with you. They'll say, here's where we docked you. Here's where you did really good, and all that. And yeah, he beat me up on some anatomy stuff, which is fine. It was a great learning experience. But what really burned my freaking behind was he said the fish looked too painted. He said, you should have done this, you should have done that. And I just, because I'm new to the competition aspect of it, and in the grand scheme of things, I've only been doing fish taxidermy for 4.5 years now.
Oh, really?
This is a guy who's been doing it for probably 40. I bit my tongue, but I just want to be like, bro, have you ever held one of these in your hands? Because I have. I've seen one in person. I know what they look like. But I took my licks and, took his feedback, which, the rest of it was really, really good, which I took a 3rd place ribbon on that one at Nationals. And it's weird. I didn't do anything to that mount, and I took it to Worlds, and it got a 2nd place ribbon at Worlds. I guess I just got a different judge that liked it better.
Yeah.
But then, I took the anatomy aspect stuff that he gave me, and I hand cast that gar that you saw, and that got a blue ribbon. And then Lily's flathead that I did, it got a blue ribbon as well. So I definitely learned, but there's still some things that, I personally want to improve on. Pontoon Jody asking where my booth's going to be. I'm actually going to be over by the that main bathroom on that end over by who's over there. Parks Planer Boards. I think TWC is over there. I'm on the end. I'm on one of the ends right there by that bathroom and that concession stand. That the original concession stand over on that side.
I didn't figure it'd be too long. I've seen this question kind of come in twice already. I figured we'd get to that, but we'll go ahead and people were asking. But wrong one. Where'd it go? So one, people were wondering like what do reproductions cost, and is there a difference between plastic and fiberglass when it comes to the final end price?
The final end price for the customer, there's no difference because there's just more love that has to go into it on my end. The fiberglass ones are typically priced cheaper to me. They don't charge, like the suppliers don't charge as much for the fiberglass ones, but they do take a lot more love to get them to my standards on there. I've seen several of the fiberglass blanks that I've used have been basically just taken out. The seams have been ground down and basically just smoothed with Bondo and no additional detail put on them, like underneath that head and that gill area, and guys primer them and paint them and ship them. But that's the difference between the end product that you see from me and some of those other guys. As far as, my end price, my price is the same regardless of what the make is. I try to stay away from those fiberglass ones as much as I can, just because they tend to have the thicker fins on them, which don't look as realistic, in my opinion. And what I really like about the plastic and composite ones, which most of the ones that I get are the plastic composite ones, you can heat and shape the fins to, give them some motion and some flow, which is pretty cool. Some of the fiberglass ones, they already have a little bit of flow to them, but what you get is what you get. You can't customize it or anything like that.
Cool. So what you actually brought me back to another question I had, and Josh and Lyle, anytime you guys have a question, I know I'm like a kid in a candy store with questions, but how much, let's say the world record one, right? You talked about some of the additional work that you had to do around the lower jaw and all that kind of stuff. From start to finish, okay, how much extra work do you have to do as far as extra molding and kind of making it look just right for you, and then the paint job? How long is that process, and what all does it actually entail most of the time?
Painting that fish wasn't terrible, and that's the thing, is every fish is different. Like, catfish, they don't have scales, obviously, so it's not like a rainbow trout where I have to go in there and tip and detail every little micro scale on there. But a lot of times those big catfish blanks do take quite a bit more labor to get them prepped and ready. I think that big world record one probably had close to 20 hours in prep time, just getting it ready for primer. But then once I got it primered and painted, primering, I usually try to primer stuff in batches, because I use, like I said, I use all automotive stuff. I know some guys will just use rattle can primer, but when you're painting those huge 5-foot long fish, it doesn't make sense to just keep buying $10 cans of spray paint. So I typically will try to primer a couple fish at a time. But from once it was primered, I think painting that fish start to finish was 7 or 8 hours, something like that. But I've had some rainbow trout take 10, 12, but they went together a lot faster than what, one of those big catfish does.
So you're looking at like literally about a normal work week, about 32 to 40 hours for one mount.
Yeah, some of them can. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, and that's what kind of stinks sometimes, because, I'll be honest, some of those big catfish, I had one I got 3 weeks ago from a guy in Texas. It was like a 42-inch blue, and I want to say it was around $1,400. And then sometimes people hear that price and they get, kind of sticker shock or whatever. And I'm like, well, here's all I got to do to it. Here's what I do to them. And here's the product that you get afterwards. I said, you could take a picture of it with holding this fish next to the Mississippi River, and people think that you caught it. It's not like you go to Bass Pro Shop and, it looks like a cartoon fish up there on the wall. But,
right. And that's part of why we're having the discussion too, right? Because we've heard many times, the end price of a replica is a lot of money. There's no, that no doubt, $1,400, $1,000. Yes, that is a lot of money to a lot of people. But again, is anybody thinking about what it's taking for you to get that product to them, right? Literally, you just said you work a full-time job, you have your own job, you have your family, but then you're on top of it, you're putting 30 to 40 hours into one replica, right? That's a lot of time. And you just, and then obviously we showed you some of the pictures. Please, again, go on to his Facebook page and check out more of his work. But there's a reason why you're getting a good quality product, but it takes time to be able to master that. And I can't believe now that you told me you've only done this for like 4.5 years. That's insane that you're doing this well already, to me.
Yeah, you want to talk about how we got started?
Yeah, I would love to know how you got started with this.
Okay, give me 1 second. Be right back.
All right. We ain't seen any other questions in there?
So I'm a huge hockey fan. I actually I've been painting high-end goalie masks for well over a decade before I got into this. Some of them 4-figure paint jobs. This is my personal goalie mask. Like, this is all paint.
Oh, wow.
I don't wear this. The chin's all busted up because I've used it for 3 seasons now. But I mean, this is all painted and airbrushed. I'm a huge Colorado hockey fan, but whenever the Avs won the Cup 2 years ago, I wanted to combine my two favorite things that both popped off in 2022. Top Gun Maverick came out, and the Avs won the Stanley Cup. So I did like a Top Gun themed paint job with my name on it, and got the Falcons or the Eagles on the side, and I've got some Colorado logos on here. But if you look really close, you can see there's actually artwork from the movie. So you've got Rooster, Maverick right there, and there's some other stuff kind of ghosted within here. Like there's one of the Avs players, ghosted in the background, some more logos and stuff. But there is no stickers or anything on this. This is all paint and artwork, and this mask is filthy right now. But yeah, there's a scene from the end of the movie with Maverick and Rooster in the back of it, and then there was one of the guys holding the Stanley Cup.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
back
awesome.
of it. So yeah, I mean, this is probably like a $2,000 paint job on there retail.
Oh my gosh!
I wear it just playing this crap league at the community center here in town. But it's like with the skill set that I have, I'm not going to just wear a
Why
wrap
not? Yeah, why
or
not?
stickers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing these for well over a decade, and I got another one that I'm going to paint for next year. And about 4.5 years ago, one of my high school buddies goes, "Man, Josh, with how much you like to fish and how good you are with your airbrush, I'm surprised you don't do fish reproductions." And it blew my freaking mind because it never crossed the radar. In fact, I actually had 2 fish done by an award-winning taxidermist out of state, and one was actually my piebald. So the piebald that you guys saw earlier was the second version of that fish. But yeah, he did a Kentucky spotted bass for me and the piebald, and they both looked awesome. But then whenever I went to pick up the piebald, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this looks really good. But my wheels are starting to turn. I'm like, okay, I see he used some pearl colors here and some transparent candies there, and I'm like, why am I not doing this myself? I feel like I could probably do this. Well, then we went to Florida, and my goal was to catch a shark on the beach. I ended up catching 2. I caught a little Atlantic sharp nose and a little black tip. I mean, little, like 30-inch long. I mean, they were little. But I caught them, and I reached out to him, and I said, "Hey, have you ever done a shark?" And he said, "No." He said, "But I could." And I'm thinking, yeah, but it might take a while. But, and you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to try it myself. So we're still on the ride home from Florida, and I'm on eBay, like, looking at all these sharks and stuff that you can buy online. And I bought 2 of them, and they looked awful. Like every shark that you see out there, they've got just a really overextended jaw on them, real big bubbly eyes sticking out the side of the head. So I ended up buying both of them. First thing I did was I took a saw and I cut the lower jaw off and just started shaping it and body working it, dremeling the teeth down to where they look a lot more defined and more natural. They still don't look super, super great, but it turned out really, really cool. And then because we caught him at St. George Island on the beach, so I got this synthetic dock pillar and a sign that actually said St. George Island Beach on it, and I got the 2 sharks going different directions on it.
Oh, neat!
But I was really happy. I was really happy with how that turned out. So I thought, I'm gonna try bass. So I ended up buying a bass blank online, and I actually looked at that Kentucky spot that I had done as a reference, and I thought and I painted it how I thought the guy layered his colors on there. And whenever I got finished with it, I thought that it looked really, really good. But I look at my fish now, and I'm like, man, that bass looks so bad. But I'll never paint over that one because it's a good, like, you started here, but now, obviously you saw the bass earlier on there. There's been a huge progression.
That would Dave Funk, that would cost you a whole lot of money to get a replica of me. I'm just saying. Oh. So you started out doing that. So you have your sharks. What got you? So obviously you've done quite a few catfish, but you've done some saltwater fish. I've seen as many as like shad. You've done bluegill. You've done bass. I've seen crawdads. What all do you or have you done that you can?
I've done a couple rattlesnakes. I did an alligator head. I've done a couple bullfrogs. So the 2 frogs that I did, one of them was like leaping, and it was partially in the mouth of like a 10-pound bass. That's actually out at Cedar Falls Tactical out in Bonne Terre. Ben Minkle is a really good customer of mine. I've done a lot of work for him out there at his store. That one was super cool because it was a 360-degree mount, and we got this 10.5-pound bass like coming out of the water. There's a bunch of splashing, and there's some lily pads and some duckweed like all over the place, and then you just got this like 9-inch bullfrog like leaping with one of its legs actually in the bass's mouth. And that frog was attached. We did the neodymium magnet trick with that one too. There's a magnet in the mouth of the fish, and then one in like the knee of that bullfrog. The other one Ben bought too. It was like a head from maybe a 8-foot alligator, where you got the head just kind of barely coming out of the duckweed, and then there's a bullfrog sitting on a lily pad next to or it's sitting on a cypress. It's sitting on a cypress knee was what it was, and that gator's like getting ready to nab it or whatever. But yeah, Ben's got that one in his shop too. I've done so many fish for Ben. He's actually got a 9-foot lemon shark I got to do some touch-ups on. He's got a couple fins that are damaged on it. I've got to do. What else have I done that's cool? I'll show you. I got another crawfish right here.
Anything you want to show or whatever.
Yeah.
So this crawfish will be at CatCon. This was one I took to Nationals and Worlds.
That's badass looking.
The overall amount itself got a red ribbon at both of those two shows, but I got judged on the habitat. And Chad, this piece of wood actually came from Peru. Proved that I did go to Peru back in March. Because we're at the Indian market, and they had all this hand carved wood, and I saw this piece of wood, and I thought that would look so sick with some rocks with a crawfish going across it. But I got judged on the habitat of this piece at Worlds, and it got a blue ribbon. The habitat did. But then in the water and ice division, it actually won best of category. So I got a best of world category for the water and ice category.
Wow.
So
that is so freaking cool.
That one was really cool. And then I know since some people like bass so much.
Really?
As soon as you said that, Lyle's eyes
perked up.
He's like,
it was Dockery you was talking about.
Oh,
yeah. Here's
look at that
smallmouth. I painted a couple weeks ago in a paint seminar with a guy up in Wisconsin. And this fish actually goes on a rock that I made here in town, chasing a crayfish. This piece will be at CatCon, and I'll actually, if somebody wants to buy it, I'll sell it.
I got first dibs. I got a $5 bill with your name on it, pal.
Can we use it for cut bait?
I'm trying to put this thing back on the stand without breaking anything.
You know where that would go, Josh. That would be a Christmas present right to Lyle.
Oh yeah, he'd put it right next to that reel.
No, he would not.
But then
close to that.
Something else, I sent you some pictures of it, I think, but something else that we're going to have on display there are these hand forged knives.
Oh, cool.
Just started. One of my buddies does the hand forging on these knives, so these are all hand forged on there. He's been doing the knives for a while, but I had this idea to actually do the fish scales in the scales on the knife for the non-knife collectors. They actually call the handle sides the scales on there. But what I did was I took a mold I had for a 10.5-inch bluegill, and I poured a 2-part plastic product in there to get all the detail and stuff. Pulled it out, heated it up so it would lay flat, and then just airbrushed it all and painted it. And then before I put the resin over it, I put my logo on there. And it turned out really, really cool. And I put a little bit of black resin kind of around the outside of it. It's got a little bit of it's a little dirty.
It's very nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it turned out really cool.
Yeah, the pictures that he sent me, if you can hold it up, when you hold the thing up to the camera there, you can see the detail of all the scales. You have the ear plate right there by the blade of the knife, and then it's all the scale work that he's done down through it. It's really freaking cool.
But yeah, we're still trying to figure out a price point on these things because I didn't know how much freaking knives are. Holy moly!
Yeah,
hand forged knives are wild.
Yeah,
he was showing me some of ththese knives on the internet that aren't near as cool as this, in my opinion. Which mine might be a little biased, but I mean, $600, $700, $800, some over
Mhm.
$1,000. I mean, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
And to think, I'm already into him for a $10 bill. You
Yeah.
know, and between a knife and a bass mount, I can't believe
Yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
such a deal.
After the show, I got a question for you about a channel cat mount.
Okay.
Actually, I think that might have been kind of what started my conversation. I was like, we used to go to Lake Mendota up in Wisconsin every year. And there's several of us that have really nice channel cat um, that we've caught.
Mhm.
Mine being the coolest one of them all.
No,
But
like,
you can't even prove yours because you'd had to chisel your picture out of rock. It's been so long since you caught it, but
Thank
yeah, I
you,
don't think
Chris.
any of us took measurements. We got weights and pictures and stuff like that. So that was a great
I do
question
have
earlier.
weights and measurements for mine.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't believe him,
No.
Josh, but that's okay.
I don't care if you believe me or not.
Yeah.
Did you get Miss Chrissy's thank you, Miss Chrissy, for 44 months?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Greatest Monday night show. What other questions we got for Mr. Josh here? What haven't I asked?
I know we
Do not
you've
like
been on it tonight, Chad. You took all the ones that I was going to ask. So
I'll say,
and some that I
I'll
would-
be honest. I was excited as soon as he was like,
he's like a kid. There's a good one. Benoit Fishing Outdoors wants to know if you've ever done a bowfin. That's one of the state records they're after. So
I have not, but honestly, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It seems like anytime I've gotten a new species, I wouldn't say it's been easy, but it's one of those things where once you start doing it, you really look at your reference pictures, and it just becomes a matter of breaking down what you're looking at. You look at the scales and the markings and whatnot on there, and your brain starts to just figure out, okay, how would I layer my colors to duplicate that? And once you do it a while, you get a different species. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, I did a wahoo for my brother-in-law about a year ago, and so many layers of different candies and pearl colors on that to make that thing bright and pop and everything. But
I'll bet
yeah,
that
it
was
wouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, we could definitely do one of those.
Wahoos are pretty cool looking fish, anyhow.
It was not Dave Constantine. I actually did a seminar with a guy by the name of Rick Crane. He's the owner of Angler's Artistry. He's been in the industry, I think, for like 42 years.
wow.
I joked with Rick whenever I finally got a chance to meet him. I said, Rick, I've never met you in person, but I learned vicariously how to paint through you and all the 20 some odd different videos that I bought, because he's got a series of all these different videos, how to paint a bluegill, how to paint a, smallmouth bass and all this. And then through one of my suppliers, they say, yeah, Rick's going to be coming to our shop and doing a paint seminar. You want to come on and take part? It's like, yeah, heck yeah, I do. So, and it turns out he's like a 62-year-old version of me. Big hockey fan, high school level humor. Love the dude. Got not only a colleague now, but a friend for life. Yeah, we actually we're texting yesterday about stuff. But yeah, super good dude. Very knowledgeable. He used to be a biologist too. So his just knowledge of anatomy and fish, and it's just unreal.
Jerry Parker's wondering how much time you spend on the river looking for premium driftwood for mounts. So
quite a bit. Well, it just depends. The river's been so dang low. Well, it was low for quite a while. It all got picked over, so I didn't go until this year, because the river's come up a couple times this year, but there have been a few spots that I haven't had a chance to check yet. We're normally pretty productive, but I actually did a pretty decent run a few months ago in a spot that normally has nothing, and I filled the bed of my truck. So
Larry from Old Boy Outdoors has a real good question here. He wants to know if you can refinish an old mounted bass.
I probably could. I'll be honest. I've got so much other stuff going right now. What scares me about those is it's probably an old skin mount. Using the automotive clear coat gun and whatnot, I would just be afraid of how brittle and fragile it might be. I mean, it's one of, I mean, I could always take a look at it and see. I just, if it was something that you caught or a family member caught, a long time ago, I'd hate to damage it is my only fear. I'll be honest. I have not done any type of refurbing or anything like that yet. I'm not saying I wouldn't be opposed to it at some point in the future, but those are just some concerns I would have with that.
I think that's a valid concern. 'Cause I wouldn't have thought
Yep.
about that.
Yeah.
Because I did wonder that, like,
Yeah.
and I think Jerry had said something earlier about, I think it was an 11-pound bass that he had, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it got messed up, and it kind of thought about it for a second, and then kind of we got going, and I forgot about it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Jerry said he
fixing
set
stuff
it
like
down,
that.
and his golden retriever ran off with it and chewed it up. So
Ooh. I don't know if Jesus himself could save that.
I think that one's done. So
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that would
What
be
about then if you could not do something like that, creating a replica from the mount itself that he already had?
Yeah, we could probably just, as long as you had the dimensions and stuff on it, I could find what blanks and stuff are out there. As far as, because I don't know that you could pull an actual replica from that skin mount, especially if it's got some damage and stuff. But yeah, as long as we had measurements and whatnot, we could definitely do a repro. The cool thing is there's not just one or two suppliers that are out there like there used to be. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, and some of the technology that some of them are getting into, I can't speak much on it, but it's getting really freaking cool, and I'm really excited to be pretty close to some of it. So that's about all I can say on it. But man, some of the stuff that's getting ready to hit, I'm super excited.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of these things where people have asked before about 3D printers. Why can't you just get a 3D printer and do it? Well, to get the kind of 3D printer that would be able to do the detail for it, I mean, you're talking into the tens of thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
And
and could you imagine one big enough to do a world record size catfish?
Oh, yeah.
It would take 2 months for it to print. It would be so
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's starting to be technology out there where they may be able to scan one fish and adjust it size wise. Maybe if they had to tweak some measurements on it to get a little belly on it, or if you've got a C pose like this, they could invert it into their computer to where it's a C pose like this, and you only have to sacrifice one fish. Because that's the thing with these repros, all these blanks and molds that are out there, a fish had to die to make them.
Okay.
So
Wow.
and that's a conversation I have a lot of times with the catfishing guys, because catfish in the catfish world, there's so much of the CPR, and I'm all about that too. But a lot of guys I want my fish. I want the measurements to match. It's like, well, you can't have both, because for every big mold that's out there, every big blank that's out there, a fish had to die to get molded. So that's why, I tell all my customers up front that I say, look, I can put a killer paint job on it and make it look just like your fish. And when it's on the wall, unless you get that guy that goes up there with a tape measure and a string and measures it in your living room, nobody's ever going to know.
Mhm.
And if you got a guy that does that, kick him out of your house, because you don't want that guy as your friend. But no, with some of the technology as far as put in the future, being able to adjust some of the blanks that they already have, or to minimize how many fish they'll have to kill to be able to make some of these higher end trophy fish, it's coming. Like
Oh, wow.
it's getting close. Yeah. Talking to a guy, or I'll be actually talking to a guy at CatCon about seeking out a big alligator gar, because one of my vendors is looking to get a big one. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff out there coming.
I don't think this is a
can't
dumb.
wait.
I can't believe we haven't brought this up when we were talking about
Mhm.
measurements and stuff and pictures earlier. But when doing measurements, what all should you be measuring in
So
these fish?
let me. I'm trying to pull a fish off of a stand here, but I can't get it because I'm on camera. So I'll just grab this. I got this walleye. Right here. So obviously length, your length on it, and then girth, around the widest part of the fish, and then weight. But to do the girth, you'd have to have a string typically. I mean, you could take a piece of fishing line, wrap it around that, and then just measure it straight. But a lot of times, whenever you've got, length and weight, or if you have two of the three, it's usually, pretty solid, because weight and girth usually go hand in hand. Because, I mean, if you got a walleye that's, this length, you can tell it's pretty thick on there, whereas another one might, only have that profile. But, and again, that kind of comes down to the conversations I like to have with my customers, where if they only have one of the three on there, we can look at whichever one they have and then compare, the different blanks and whatnot that are out there to find what looks best for their fish. That happens all the time. It's almost more important to have good pictures than it is to have multiple of those measurements. But obviously, the more of the boxes you check, the better off everybody's going to be on there. But
yeah, I was going to ask you if there was one that, if you would prefer, if somebody could only get one, would you prefer better pictures or measurements, or what?
If the best pictures that you can, like in good sunlight, so you can see all the colors, and if they've got any unique markings, things on there like scars and stuff like that, because that's one of the big things I take pride in, is putting the scars and the markings and stuff on there. Because, I mean, it's not like skin mounts where you're getting your actual fish back. You're getting back a plastic model, but I want to make that plastic model look like the fish that you pulled out of the water.
I'm trying to see something.
So yeah, good pictures, and then at least one of the three measurements. But I mean, obviously, the more that you can get, the better. Let's set this guy back.
No problem.
Talking about piebalds, I've actually got a well, it's going to be a piebald on one of my stands right now for a guy. He caught it out by Kansas City on the Missouri River, and it's about a year and a half or so ago. I think it's like 25 or so pound fish. Nice fish, pretty fish too. A lot of cool markings on it.
Trying to find. I can't find it. There it is. There we go. Let me see if I can. So, because mine's so much cooler than. I lost it. I can't find where it's at. Your home tab, Facebook. There we go. This picture right here.
Oh yeah.
That's the one if I could get it done, I would want. I think that channel cat was freaking so amazing.
Big old dark male, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're all dark up there.
Yeah.
Where's that at? Was that up in Canada?
No, that was up in Wisconsin,
Wisconsin?
at Mendota.
Okay.
I mean, it was 10 times bigger and prettier than anything Lyle caught up there ever.
Oh, wow.
That mine could have ate that one.
So, do you ever get time to? I know you said you went to Peru and fish, but how often do you actually, with having a daytime job and this hobby, and then obviously you said your kid plays hockey and everything else, do you ever have time to get to go fishing?
I would say, well, in the last few months, it's gone up quite a bit. I'm trying to shift to where this is going to be what I do full time. I actually was ice fishing 3 days ago up in Minnesota, or not Minnesota, in Wisconsin. We were ice fishing in Wisconsin. I haven't gotten as much catfishing in as I'd like to in the last probably 2 years for sure. I did make it to the Fall Patriot catfishing event, and we fished Wheeler for a couple days before the actual event. So that was fun. Caught a few fish. We were there for the fall event the year before that, and we were staying at the lodge or right there at the campground, or the whatever it is. And one of my buddies caught a 72-pound blue right on the bank, right there in front of the condos, or the whatever you want to call it. It was pretty cool. Which I've actually got that on another stand, getting ready to paint that one. He caught it on a skipjack head, so I've got my skipjack mold. We're gonna put a skipjack head on his rig for that mount. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. I want to see the skipjack when you get done with those, because I think that'd be really cool.
I can go grab one real quick. I've got the two with the
Hell
CR
yeah.
side. All right.
I'm not going to turn you down from showing me him.
Yep.
But Josh lives literally 15 minutes from him, and he still hasn't been fishing with Parker yet.
Wow.
And apparently, Danny Stone has already sent Josh 50 pictures, screenshots with about that question mark piebald. He said he's running straight to you.
Oh, that is cool.
Let me get that. That's freaking
That's
awesome.
amazing.
That is awesome.
So this is part of the C-Arc mount. The C-Arc mount is 2 pieces because it's so dang big. We've got a 54-ish inch blue cat that's on a silhouette of the state of Arkansas. The wood's a silhouette of the state of Arkansas. And it's got a little star with the C-Arc logo right next to where Monticello, Arkansas is because it's going to their headquarters. I've had it done for probably 8 months or so. I was supposed to have it at the Twisted Cat event in Perryville back in the summertime, but then the river was so high, so they ended up having to reschedule. And whenever they rescheduled, it was the week of Worlds, so I went to Worlds instead. But I haven't hated having to look at it or getting the chance to look at it for the extra amount of time. But Alex is going to be taking it, Alex Nagy, and they're going to have it at their headquarters in C-Arc. But this was actually one of the skipjack, or I made this mold from one of the skipjack I caught down at Wheeler. So I don't know that anybody else has a skipjack mold anywhere else in the world right now. And the rock, I handmade the rock with some products that I use, and actually I made everything on this. I made the wood backer too. But yeah.
Wow. I only thought that Lyle created stuff like that came from Mother Earth. He helped design trees.
Nice.
And fish and all kinds of stuff.
It's get a little dusty. I have to clean it. But yeah, turned out pretty cool.
That is pretty neat.
So let's set this down real quick.
Now I want a skipjack mount.
I know.
Me
too.
Now.
I happen to know somebody that's got what would be a state record for Kentucky in their, well, they had it in their freezer. I don't know what they did with it, but that would be cool. It's about like a 3.5, 4 pound skipjack.
I think there's been a lot of Kentucky state record skipjacks cut up as bait. So,
Kevin, nobody is immune to my jokes. Everybody thinks I'm funny, especially looking. Shut up, Josh. Wow. I thought it was funny. Whatever. I'm tired of all of you guys. What else have we not asked? Because we're already at the hour mark, and I've not shut up. So
nothing unusual.
Here, I got a flathead. Let me grab this flathead. It's actually the.
Oh, absolutely.
If it's chasing a bass, Lyle will cry. What?
Oh.
Let's go. So
That's awesome.
So this is the flathead that's going to go on it goes on the Patriot mount. I'm fixing some stuff on the base for it. So I've got this off the base right now, but
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that marbling.
Man.
Oh.
And it
that
looks
amazing.
Better under good light. My lighting in this garage is freaking terrible.
It looks perfectly fine. We can understand.
Yeah, it's got all the modeling underneath of it and stuff, and the soft tissue.
You, sir, are a true artist.
We could take it up to the city park pond and hold it like this, and people think we just caught it.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
I bet. That's freaking cool.
No, funny story. Let me make sure I get this thing down before it. Okay.
Yeah, don't break it.
Yeah, I know. I don't have time to fix that.
I'd hate for Lyle to have to pay for that.
I did a 5.5, 6 pound bass for a guy's wife, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, something like that. And we got a lot of rain around here right around the time I just had finished painting his fish. And I thought, I'm going to screw with some people. So we got this little pond in our city park that has 0 fish in it. So I take this bass up there with a little ultralight rod and a rooster tail on it. And I just set the rooster tail on the side of its mouth and just took a goofy selfie. And you could clearly tell in the background where I was at. And I posted on one of the local gossip pages on Facebook and just said something about, oh man, I got a chance to get out on my lunch hour and wet a line a little bit. And I'm glad I did because I just caught this bass. Within an hour, that post had over 100 likes on it. Within 3 days, it had like 441 likes, 100 and some odd comments on it.
I bet they were lined up shoulder to shoulder at that little pond.
I kid you not. 3 weeks ago, it was cold. I was up there I was ice skating, playing pond hockey, and I shot a puck off, and I was trying to find it like in the grass. And I found 3 or 4 bobbers where people had lost them, that with like how old or fresh they were, like you could tell some people were up there trying to catch fish that don't exist in that pond based on that Facebook post. I felt a little bad, honestly, but
hey, well. You got people out, they were trying to enjoy nature. Yeah. That's okay.
You know what we didn't ask about is Lyle's favorite species of fish. Have you done a freshwater drum?
I have not done a freshwater drum.
That's Lyle's absolute favorite fish.
Junk fish. Throw them up on the bank. They don't even make good bait.
They don't make good bait. No, I'll give you that much.
So we'll see you this week at CatCon for those of you who are going. So make sure you go over and tell Josh hello and check out all the stuff that he's going to have. From what you were saying, you're going to have quite a bit to display, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have a couple catfish. I'll have a crappie there, so we fit the catfish and crappie conference criteria, but we're definitely going to have a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to have that flathead I just showed. That one is actually going to be over in the Catch the Fever booth with the Patriot Catfishing guys. If you guys haven't heard of Patriot Catfishing, they're a non-for-profit organization. They raise money to help take veterans out fishing free of charge. They've got a place down in Rogersville, Alabama, where they put the vets up.
Yes, Keith.
And they take them out. I think Roger took 150 vets out last year fishing. They have 2 events usually per year down at Rogersville, and I think they do one at Santee Cooper too. But that catfish is going on a hardwood base that I made. It's got an American flag in all 4 sides of it, and they're going to be raffling that thing off. So somebody's going to win that. The red, white, and blue one we did last year, I think, raised like $15,000. Like it raised a ton of money to take vets out. So that fish will be over at the Catch the Fever booth being raffled off. But in my booth, I'll have my daughter's pitchfork flathead that ironically was the exact same blank as that one. The only difference was this fish is closed mouth. My daughter's is open. So we'll have my daughter's flathead. We'll have my piebald blue. We'll have the Sea Arc Arkansas State Record blue. I'm going to have the crawfish that I showed. I'm going to have that smallmouth that I showed. That smallmouth is actually on a rock that I handmade, and it's going to be chasing a swimming crayfish. I've got a pedestal crappie, 360-degree pedestal mount crappie. I'm going to have a 3-foot barracuda, 4-foot blacktip shark. I've got a flounder that I caught in Peru that I mounted up onto a piece of wood that I brought home from Peru. That was a circus trying to get that thing home. What else? Seems like I got a list somewhere. I got crap everywhere and too many browsers open up here. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of really, really cool stuff in the booth, and I'm gonna have this knife on display. I did a really cool antler reproduction that I got. I didn't actually make the antler, but I fixed a couple little things on it, and then I put a weathered bronze look and then put it on a piece of walnut that I'm going to use to put this knife on and have it on display. So I couldn't just set the knife on the table. I had to do something cool with it. And then I got to thinking, because I showed it to a few people, and they're like, man, that antler looks really cool. I'm like, man, I could do antler bronzing if people want like sheds bronzed or something. So I don't know, things that I didn't really think to market. Was like, well, if people want it, then sure.
I'll tell you what, with your kind of talent, I think you have a lot of, you could overwhelm yourself with how much you could probably really do. So, I think your options are endless there, personally.
I've got a buddy that wants me to paint a couple guitars. I've already painted one guitar for him, but so yeah, that's the cool thing about the skill set is, you're not painting just fish or just helmets, whatever,
Yeah.
all kinds of different things.
I will ask that hopefully everybody, I know I've seen a few people say it in chat, but please hit that thumb up. I think this has been an awesome show tonight.
So one thing I was going to do at the booth this year was I've got a little like prize wheel that you can spin. So anybody that's wanting to put money down on a new mount, you can spin the prize, or you can spin the prize wheel either way. But it's all stuff for mounts. Like there's, I think $250 off of a catfish or $250 off a fish over 50
that
inches.
needs to happen.
There's a couple other things on there too, like discount cut bait or discount bait fish, stuff like that. Basically, different ways to save money, on putting
heck yeah,
fish. So yeah, just kind of a cool little thing.
I don't know if you know this guy fishing and stuff.
I think I'm right next to him, honestly.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry.
You poor guy. Well, he just asked that question, and he was wondering if you would be able to make a custom cranky lure for him. So, being right next to him, he'll be able to talk to you about it.
Yeah. I actually thought about getting into paint lures too, because a couple of the guys that I talk to that do taxidermy on a daily basis or do reproductions, some of those guys do lures. One of my buddies, Blake Paff, he's out in South Carolina. Dark water custom lures or dark corner custom lures. I forget which one it is. He does some crazy crankbaits and whatnot.
Really?
He's got me interested in wanting to do it, but I see the ones he's doing. I'm like, man, I don't want to compete with him. And he's a good dude too. But yeah, he's got some really cool stuff out there.
So Keith's not wanting one to fish with.
No, he's probably wanting a big
one. I got you. Yeah. Some of the ones that Blake makes and paints, I wouldn't want to fish with them. They look too dang pretty. I'd want to just put one on the wall.
I bet that's why people don't want to fish with me. I'm just too dang pretty.
That's it. That's what it is. 100%. That's it.
Oh, wow. Lyle talked. Oh, my God. Bless America. Is that all it took? All I got to do is say something. Anyway. You guys got any more questions for Mr. Josh?
I do not, but I would like to thank him for spending his Monday evening with us because he's made us have a great show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. It was a fun show to be on, and I'm excited to run into everybody at Catfish Conference, and I'm excited. Yeah, I've been there the last 2 years helping out the Patriot guys and raffling off something to help those guys out, and I definitely want to continue to do that. But this will be the first year I've ever had my own booth, so I'm pretty excited. Can't wait. Should be a good time.
Fun.
Well, I can already tell that Danny Stone will probably be at your booth for a majority, at least.
He's going to pretty well live there, it sounds like.
Did you guys see, talking about those pieballs, did you guys see, what the heck was his name? A guy out in Milford was catching catfish through the ice, and he caught one on video through the ice. It wasn't a big one. I mean, it was only a small pieball, but he was catching like 30s, 40s, and 50s through the ice. Wow.
Is that the one where he kept having to cut the hole out? Because
cutting he did 3 holes. Yeah, cutting like a clover leaf on them because they were so dang big.
Yeah.
That's out in Kansas?
Yeah, it was in Milford, yeah. I mean,
man, I've got to go back out there to that lake. That lake put a hurt on me the only time I've ever got to fish it. So
I've never been there. I want to fish that lake really, really bad.
I stopped on my way back from I had been out to Denver, Colorado for some work stuff. And so I drove for the sole purpose of I wanted to stop at Milford on the way back and fish. And I fished, but I didn't do very well. So
story of our lives, Josh.
Pretty much.
Well, I think this is a good ending point myself. But seriously, Josh, I know it took us a while to line this up, but I really do appreciate, and I know Josh and Lyle do as well, you taking time out of your evening and your busy schedule to kind of go through this and, give us all a lot of information to think about when they're thinking, is this the fish that I want to keep that memory of and get a mount made? Because there's definitely going to be people in this chat or people that watch it or listen to the podcasts, etc., that have they have that opportunity where they catch a state record, of some sort, whether it be a catfish or a crappie or whatever, or just something that's a special memory to them, like Danny's piebald, right? That's a special fish. It really was. Yeah. And now they have an idea of all that goes into it, what it may cost them, what they need to do to get to somebody like you to be able to make that for them, right? So thank you for joining us tonight on that.
Yeah, I am most certainly welcome. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, if nothing else, I will say bio con Dios, mi amigos, to everybody. We will see you, most of you, Friday at CatCon. Some of you I know won't make it. There is weather coming in this week, so be careful for all of you that are traveling.
For sure. So
Absolutely.
So with that, thanks everybody for watching.
Yep.
Have a great week, y'all.
Good night.
Have a great week.